Hello, Gun Nation. All right, it says we are live. So we will kick this off. We'll give a couple of seconds to let everybody jump on. We've got Frank in here, Pistol Pete. We're going to have a fun night tonight. We've got the Red Menace on here. And if y'all do not know him, please go over and check him out. I have his link posted in the chat and also in the description of the chat. So we'll let some more people jump in here real quick, and then we'll get into some questions. But Red Menace, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know what you're about?
Yeah, I go by the Red Menace. Mainly, I'm into competition shooting. That's changed a little bit over the last year or so as ammo's been impossible to find, but I'm big USPSA IDPA shooter. That's really my major background. As I mentioned, haven't posted a video in a while, but also if you watch my High Power Project series, I do weird random service pistols and try to modernize them. I've done that a couple times now. That's always a lot of fun. That's about it right now. Again, later this year, I'm going to be starting. You and I were just talking about. I'm going to be doing airsoft the next couple of weeks, putting videos up about that, and then also, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I write for a blog called Pro Gun Millennial, where myself and another guy named Sunshine Shooter put posts up every now and then, gun reviews. Actually, a lot of liquor reviews as well. Those are fun.
Oh yeah.
But, if you guys, I didn't tell you about this ahead of time, so there's no link there. But if you guys ever want to check that out, that's pretty solid content. Sunshine Shooter does a lot of really detailed writing, and I do a lot of nonsense, but that's how it breaks down.
Yeah, and Richard and Lynn Holt, Biden who, because we've got the puppet show. I guess that's going to be on later tonight. I don't know who's going to watch it, but you already have a question. And again, if y'all are jumping in the chat, we got Lynn Holt, we got Richard, A-Dubs, Wiley, Daniel. Appreciate y'all being on. And but yeah, Red Menace is kind of giving us a little idea of what's going on. But I was curious about this also, which Richard's asking. How did you pick the name Red Menace?
So with Red Menace, I always feel the need to, kind of add the caveat. I'm not a communist. I'm a fervent anti-communist. But I was doing all the red stuff already. Of wearing all red to matches, had all my USPSA equipment was red, and I had just seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E. The movie came out in 2015, not the original TV show, but the movie. And I was driving home from work, and I was thinking about that, and I was trying to come up with a name for the channel and everything. And I was like, man, the Red Peril. I was like, something there. I was like, there's something there. I was like, the Red Peril, blah, blah, blah. Because that's what the protagonist called the antagonist in the movie. It was the Russian agent. He called him Red Peril, which I thought was hilarious. And I was like, Red Peril, Red Threat. I was like, Red Menace. And it just, like, when I said it to myself, it rolled off. And I was like, I found it. That's the one. And a friend of mine who does graphic design actually made the logo for me after I came up with that. And it's all kind of been downhill from there, as they say.
Yeah. Hello, Keenan. Hello, music, Kathleen. But yeah. And, one of the funniest videos I have ever seen, and we've talked about this before too, and I did not know I knew of his videos. I've commented on them. I've been watching him, for, gosh, I guess 4 years.
Yeah.
When you put up videos, I know you don't do them very often, but one of the funniest videos he ever did is the Angry Shadow 2 video. And it's literally an Angry Shadow 2 review. So he reviews his Shadow 2, but it's done angrily, and you've got to watch it. It's freaking hilarious. And his link is in the chat and in the description, so y'all can go check it out. But I don't know how many people I sent that to that night that I watched it, but like I said, it was 4 years ago, and y'all can go in. He's done some angry reviews since, but watch the Shadow 2. That was the OG. That was the original one. And it's freaking funny as shit. I mean, I laughed, and I think I sent it to probably 20 people, and but anyway, kind of tell us don't give away too much of it because I want them to watch the video, but give us a little bit of what brought that video on.
So the story behind that is I bought a Shadow 2 in August of 2017, and they were still like a little vaporware at the time. Like, they weren't super common. I knew one other person in USPSA around me that had one. And I just wanted to do a tabletop review and like put the information out there, be like, hey, this is the gun, this is what it comes with. Because there wasn't a lot of good info out there apart from, big YouTubers shooting it and not really talking about the details of it. And I got so fed up with trying to do the camera setup and everything for the tabletop review that in one take, literally did that whole Angry Gun review. And like, that's what, like, I think the intro to that is like, I tried to make a serious tabletop and gave up because I literally got so fed up with, I couldn't get the camera angle right. I kept stumbling over my own words. So I just did it flat out angry, and it came out like that. And I told you before, it's my most watched YouTube video ever.
Yeah.
I'm indecently proud of that.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I even thought about, mimicking it one time, just doing an Angry Gun review just to joke around, of course, give you credit for it. But
I would be so flattered.
That was freaking funny as shit. I laughed. I mean, I don't think I've ever laughed. So, as a matter of fact, I remember when I watched it, I was in my office and I was watching it, and I just started busting out laughing, and multiple times. And I think my wife came in and was like, "What are you laughing about?" Because the TV wasn't even turned on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm watching this review," and then she was like, "Oh, that's okay." She was just like, "Is it a gun review?" And was like, "Whatever," So, but yeah. So yeah, we got Bald and Curious. Let's see here. And I did want to, we'll go ahead and get a couple of the questions out of the way. And also for all the, family members out there in the chat, if y'all have questions for myself or Red Menace, or just questions in general, please ask them. I'm curious. I'm going to ask a question. How many people are going to watch the puppet show tonight? Are y'all actually going to watch Bobo Biden do his thing or not? So let me know if you're going to watch it or not watch it. I'm just curious. But all right, here's one of the questions. Now, I already, and some of these, like your opinion on guns, I already know it. You love them. So what is your favorite pistol? You can only pick one. And your favorite rifle? You can only pick one.
My favorite pistol right now is 110% my Browning High Power. I love the way that gun shoots. I love the trigger on it now. I love the way it carries. Because it's Rayleigh Police Surplus that I've modernized, and it's my daily carry. I carry it all the time. I have one of those, is it Recover Tactical? One of the, like the plastic rails that you put on it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I bought one of those for it. So it's like kind of my duty gun, if you will, as well. And then favorite rifle, I have an 11.5-inch AR that I'm building. I call it my Gucci Commando because it's what all the expensive parts go to. It's 11.5-inch fixed front sight block, all that. Eventually I'll do an Angry Gun review for that when I get it, done. But I went out and zeroed it on Monday. Actually, the way it shoots. I'm a big old nerd when it comes to picking parts for stuff. That's why I do the high power videos and whatever about modernizing things. But the Gucci Commando is like the ultimate expression of that. I've handpicked every part, and seeing them all play nicely together is really, really neat.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, and it doesn't look like anybody's going to watch the Bobo show, so that's good. Pistol Pete does have a question for you, and saw your high power videos. How do you compare the high power to a 1911?
The only reason the Browning high power is not more popular in the U.S. is because of World War II. So the Browning high power, and John Moses Browning said this himself, is a product improved 1911. The trigger's not quite as good, I'll admit, but the Browning high power takes down easier, uses a linkless barrel instead of linked, double stack. Obviously, the takedown is so much easier. There's no bushing for the barrel. It's product improved in basically every meaningful way, apart from kind of the cool factor of being a 1911, and like I said, the trigger. I've never owned a 1911. I've shot a few. I like my high power better, and also I don't know if you guys are familiar with Caleb Giddings.
Yes.
He did. If you ever watched his budget 1911 reviews back in the day, he had.
I don't know if I have or not.
Back in 2015, 2016, he was doing budget 1911 reviews, and that's where I stole the 10A performance test from what I did with the high power. And he had $1,000 1911s that couldn't pass the 10A performance function test. My high power did it. My 30-year-old high power did it with flying colors. It's just a better service pistol in general.
Yeah. And I will give props to the high power. I had I think it was a 1968 Belgian, it was the real deal. Thing was awesome. Shot incredibly well. I mean, super accurate. And then my dumbass got rid of it way before everybody figured out what the hell high powers were, where they had their second wave, and now you can't touch a good one for, $2,000. or you know, a legitimate. I mean, a true,
Oh yeah,
true
mine.
one.
I don't mind admitting mine was in relatively terrible state when I bought it, and it needs to be refinished. But I bought mine for $500 surplus. Like
Yeah,
it was not factory new.
yeah. And you know, like I said, there's nothing even wrong with those. I mean, obviously, and you can still get parts for them. And you know, people have done retro stuff on them. You know, like that MK Performance, like Will and Will Alarm did.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
I mean, they're awesome guns and everything. I will say this, in my opinion. Now I'm talking not a budget or a low end 1911, but you will get a much better trigger, like you even said, out of a 1911.
110%.
But will the Browning high power pretty much run any ammo flat, you know, round, everything? Yes. Hollow points, it pretty much will. Where the 1911 can choke unless it's throated and, you know, more modernized. You know, if you're going for age to age, the high power outperform the 1911 in running all kinds of ammo. But I mean, they're both great guns. I love 1911s. I love Browning high powers. One thing I like about the high power is it's a little bit fatter, you know, even on their single stack. And I've got huge hands. So I do like that over a standard 1911 as far as I don't care for the grips, but, you know, they're slick and shit like that. But I do like the width of them.
Yeah. You and I are both big fans of lock grips.
Yes.
First thing I did with my high power is I replaced the grips with lock grip roughnecks.
Yeah.
But one thing that people don't, or a lot of people don't know, is the high power. It's double stack at the grip, but if you look at it forward to the like trigger guard forward, it is as narrow as a single stack,
Yep.
and that's why that gun carries so beautifully.
Yep.
It's actually to this day I carry it in a Beretta 85 holster because it just fits so well. I haven't bought a new holster for it, but since about the day I bought it, I started carrying it, and it's fantastic. It's a full size. It carries like a single stack.
Yeah, they are awesome guns. I really enjoy them. Now, and I couldn't remember now, I had a lot of mags for mine, but are the mags still readily available or?
They were like a year ago when I bought a few extras to start shooting matches with it. I found them no problem. I've been trying to buy some in the last couple months, just because you know, just in case. Same as I'm buying mags for everything right now, but they've been out of stock. I can't even find the 10-round mags, so that is definitely one negative towards it is the mags. But when they're in stock, they're not super expensive. I think I paid like $20 a mag last time I bought them. I just bought Metgars naturally, but when I could find them, they weren't terribly expensive for the last 3 months or so. I haven't looked recently, but last time I looked, they were out of stock.
Yeah, back when I was getting mine, I could get them for $8 a mag. So I think I had like 30 freaking mags for that gun, or you know, and I mean, I'm not going to use 30 mags, but that way, you know, because I bought them like in a surplus state. So if you get some bad, crappy ones or whatever, you know, but what's funny, I tested every one of them and every one of them worked. And some of them actually had rust in them. I had to take them apart. I mean, I shot them like they were, but after I took them all apart, it was like all this rust and I mean, chunks of crap. And I was just like, damn, and they still ran. So
the mag that mine shipped with, same thing, wear marks all over it. I'm pretty sure it was the gun that, or the magazine the gun was carried with over in Israel for 20 years. Has not failed at a match yet, which is usually my, like, getting dropped in the dust and everything. That's my kind of like benchmark for performance, and it's been flawless even with that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Pistol Pete saying if Dan Wesson would ever drop that DWX, I think it will not happen this year, at least. And I do agree on that. I don't think it's going to happen this year either.
I think sorry.
Go ahead. No, I was going to ask you, what was your opinion?
I think the DWX is vaporware at this point, which I'm bummed because I wanted that very badly. Yeah. I wanted the compact, to be honest, because I already have PO7 mags, and I thought that would be perfect. But maybe with all that extra capacity from buying Colt, CZ will finally build it. But I've wanted a single stack PCR for so long. I've given up on CZ building the guns I want them to. I love CZ. They're just not terribly like market nimble, if you will.
Yeah.
I would love to see the DWX be a real thing, but I'm not like holding my breath for it. It's like the PSA MP5. I've given up waiting for it. If it ever happens, I'll be thrilled, but I'm not dying for it anymore.
Yeah, I think it is going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think, you know, because I mean, God, if it does, it might be late fourth quarter, but I seriously doubt it's going to happen. And I was kind of like you. I was thinking maybe, you know, since they bought Colt and something, if maybe Dan Wesson, Colt, and, you know, CZ would get together and say, hey, it's the Colt / DWX / whatever. And I was thinking this, you know, with all of the guns that are now going to carry optics or having optic capability, since you had all this downtime and, you know, you could reboot up or whatever when you start making them, why not just go ahead and mill them for a freaking dot? I mean, you haven't made shitloads of them yet. So just go ahead and, you know, do that in the milling process. And then when you coat it, it's done.
Yeah. To that point, like, if you launch a new pistol, it has to be optics ready at this point. Yeah. We've passed that point. Like, I don't have red dots on my pistols yet, just from a cost point, because I'd have to buy red dots for all my pistols, and I'm not to the point where I'm ready to do that yet. Also, I have an astigmatism, and I haven't shot pistol red dots enough to be sure of how I'm going to see them.
Yep.
But yeah, if they actually launch that DWX and it's not optics ready, they're shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this: I have astigmatism in both eyes. So, and I've said that numerous times, and it, you know, you can turn it way down and you can get it crisper. And of course, if you wear glasses like you do, and I have glasses, but half the time I don't wear them. But the thing is you might get a little blister out of it. You know, it might look like a comet. It might, you know, but it's still not going to be that big. And what I do is, you know, as I'm shooting it, you know, I mean, wherever the dot's going to be, that's where the bullet's going to go if you set it up properly. So you're going to find with astigmatism, what I find is I call it a hot spot, meaning it's brighter in that area, so you don't get the tail. And so I just set everything up for the hot spot, and it works great for me. It's definitely better with the glasses, but I don't wear those glasses usually unless I shoot. But I could still pull the gun up and dry fire, and, you know, if I had to use it, it wouldn't be a problem.
And this is where you and I talked before the chat started about airsoft. Like, when I start doing airsoft, I'm going to use my real red dots on my airsoft guns to see how they perform out in like normal daylight conditions. Because I live in an apartment and I can't go stand out in my apartment complex and point a rifle around and see how the red dot performs. I could do it with the red dot not on the rifle, but it's not really the same thing. So I'm going to use airsoft as like kind of a testing base for that. And I think it'd be fine, especially because my carry gun has a weapon light on it. And that definitely helps with cutting down like the starburst that you see with an astigmatism around the red dot. But again, it kind of comes back to a cost thing where and also a competition thing. That's, again, me being a USPSA nerd. I don't want to shoot carry optics because I don't want to say it's lame. It's just not for me. I want to shoot limited with 40 cal and shoot major and be lazy. But where I'd have to get red dots on all my guns because I want that training to be universal. Yeah. So,
and it's definitely, you know, it's definitely not cheap when you start dotting all your guns and milling them all and stuff like that. Because when I committed and I said I'm going dots 1,000%, because I teetered, you know, back and forth for, I don't know, probably 8 months. But once I committed to go dots, it's once you get everything dotted, or, you know, if you just wanted to dot 1 or 2 guns, you know, like dot a carry gun, dot a, you know, a competition gun, and of course your AR, you can just throw one on the rail. But it is very difficult to go back. Now, people have asked, can I shoot an iron dot or an iron sight gun? Yeah, I mean, I still can. But when I personally put them on the timer now, I'm much faster with a dot. And everybody, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm the first to admit red dots are better. There's no getting around that. There's no, like, it's not an argument. The people that you see saying, oh, well, iron sights are closer point blank, like, Aaron Cowan and everybody has completely dispelled that theory. That, like, it's not an argument anymore. For me, it's simply, if I hit the lottery tomorrow, RMRs and SROs are going on all my pistols. It's not even a question.
Yeah. And I mean, those are my, you know, go-to. I mean, I have had good luck with the Holosuns and I really like them, but just wondering if they're quality control, just from what I've seen with their coatings and stuff on the past one that I got, it looked like, you know, Ray Charles spray painted it, because it looks like shit. But you know, it still works. And, you know, as long as I'm not the OCD guy, you know, I know a lot of people are, and they're like, oh my God, that would drive me crazy. You know, I could give 2 shits, but the optic has to work properly. And this one has so far. But, you know, it is what it is. And somebody, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Keenan. He said that I have 30 mags for everything. I'm a big believer in mags. And you know this, if you're at a match or whatever happens, usually the first thing to fail is your mags.
Absolutely.
Whether they get dirty or gunk gets in them or the follower gets hung or whatever. I mean, same with AR, if you drop it, mess up the feed lips or anything, you're toast. So
the magazine is the only part of the gun that is integral to function that leaves the gun constantly.
yeah.
Like your bolt carrier group, it leaves the gun to clean it or whatever, but the bolt isn't routinely dropped on the ground with no concern for how fast it's going. Your magazine is. And I used to have a wet dream. I'm not there yet. I'm a little closer than I used to be, but I used to have a wet dream of loading like 35 CZ mags before a match, and then just going to a USPSA match, shoot a stage, all the used mags go in a bag, and 10 more or 6 more fresh mags come out, and I never have to load a mag the entire match. I'm not. One day I'll do it. I'm not there yet, but one day I will shoot an entire USPSA match without loading a mag.
Yeah, well, I've done that with ARs many, many times, and I'm talking all day of shooting, but I don't think I've ever tried. I mean, I've got a crap load of Shadow 2 mags. I don't think I've ever, I could do it. I've just never done it, because when you're sitting there downtime, it's just easy to load them.
It's something to do. I used to have one of those things that like loads the mags for you automatic, not a Blula, but it was like actually automatic, but she broke up with me.
Yeah. All right. Here's a question. Now, I know you're not a big, red dot fan yet, but do you have any thoughts on 6-hour red dots? Keith is asking.
From everything I've seen, they're pretty solid. I think it's the Romeo 5. It's like the T2 AR Vortex Spark lookalike, kind of. I have a friend who has one of those who loves it. The shake awake on it and everything. He's like, when he shops for optics now, he bemoans the fact that not everything has shake awake like the Sig Romeo 5. Past that, I know that actually no, I don't think Aaron Cowan's done a real like Sig Romeo 0 or anything drop test or anything yet, has he?
I don't think on a pistol optic. He has one that he's testing that he says he's going to be doing because he went and visited their factory, but I don't think he's done one yet.
That's kind of like, I don't usually get too into like XYZ YouTuber shot this and liked it. Like, I don't really get too much into that. I think Sage Dynamics is a good benchmark in terms of, because he films everything, which is what I try to do with the high power videos. I tried to film every round I shot just for clarity. Yeah. And that's like, if something he tests that maybe a brand I'm not super familiar with or not terribly a fan of, if it passes his 2,000 rounds and 4 drop tests, I'll be like, okay, I'm still maybe not a huge fan of it. It wouldn't be the first thing I recommend, but if it passed the test, it passed the test. Like that's quantifiable.
Yeah, I watch all of his stuff too because, I'm not just going to go out and throw all my shit on the concrete, but if he wants to, I'll definitely watch it. And, I watch them because I want to get, see if it's going to fail or pass, of course, because it's just intriguing to watch that.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody likes to see failure sometimes. As far as my opinion, Keith, on the 6-hour red dots, I actually have 5 of the Sig Romeo 5s. I do have 5 of those on different guns, rifles, and I have a 6-hour 4T red dot, and I haven't had any problems out of any of those. But the 6-hour pistol optics just don't do it for me. I've seen too many of them fail. I know Bald and Curious is on here. He's had them fail. Other people have had them fail, like the brightness will stick and it'll be full brightness, or they'll just go dead or whatever. And I don't have any faith in those. So I haven't chosen to. I've had many of opportunities to purchase them, and also their footprint. It's like they have their footprint, or the Delta Point Pro setup. I don't like Delta Point Pros personally, so none of their footprints really fit anything that I have. So I'm a big RMR, footprint guy, or SRO, because the Holosun's compatible. So that's another reason I really haven't bought one to try one, but I've just seen too many failures, and I've had actual friends that I trust, and they've had them fail. So they're just not for me.
I just want to go off on a slight tangent real quick in terms of mounting and footprints and whatever. One thing that I don't want to say maintained because nobody cares what I think, but one thing that I thought that I've had in terms of holding back the pistol optic market, if you will, is a universal mounting option. like if you had to mill an AR for a specific optic or had to get adapter plates, I think that would slow a lot of people down. Do you think that we'll get to a point, like the industry will get to a point where there's a universal pistol mount, like something like the aim point, P1 Acro, I think is that what it's
Yeah, the
called?
Acro.
The Acro. That has kind of like a semi Picatinny mount, something like that for pistol dots. What's your opinion on that?
Personally, I think if they should go to one, it would be the RMR footprint, because even on the Acro, you have to mount the plate on your gun, on your pistol, and it can be milled for it, but you have to mount that on there, and then the Acro kind of slides on there and it screws from the side, so you're raising your dot higher, and everybody wants a lower dot. So I would prefer the RMR footprint. However, and I know Hollow Sun has got around it, but with Trigicon and saying it's ours and copyrights and all that, I mean, I think if they would go just everything to an RMR footprint, I think that would be awesome. It would be kind of universal with everybody and everybody could use it. But what you're running into is some of these big dots, like Longwise, like the Venoms, and even the 6 hours. They're so long they couldn't fit into an RMR footprint. So that's where you're going to have issues there too. They would have to really size up those and make them a lot smaller. They could have the big windows, but they would have to make their bodies smaller.
I mean, but then do you get into like the Trigicon SRO situation where it's kind of got the raise and the overhang? Sorry, I'm going the wrong way.
Yep.
And kind of make up for it that way. What I keep coming back to is like the AR-15 as it exists today. Like, you can do a build that is in no way related to an M16A1 because people have spent so long dealing with the engineering of an AR-15. I feel like the industry's 10, 15 years away from that with pistol red dots, where like we're still in the like if you think of flight, like the 1920s, where people are trying to figure out what an airplane's supposed to look like. Like that's where we are with pistol red dots right now. We're not in the 50s of everybody knows it's a aluminum tube with 4 engines. Like we're still in the crazy 3 engines and triplanes and whatever.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing with the dots and all these other things. Everybody wants to build a bigger, better, different, thing. And that's great because that gives us all choices. But to have some things standardized, that's like, what's really funny. And that was one of the things that I was going to ask everybody. When you get into AR-15, let's just say AR-15 commercial, or commercial grade or whatever. God dang it, I forget the actual name for it, but where everything is compatible. Like your uppers and your lowers match together and all that other stuff. Well, when you get into AR-10, there's no perfect.
It's a little less plug and play.
Yeah. So, that's a whole different ball game. And it's like, they're very similar, but they're not, so you might have to get like a matching upper and a lower so it matches, or a matching rail to where, it lines up perfectly. Cause you could have some jacked up. I've seen some AR-10s that look pretty janky, where shit's just not all lined up. It'll still shoot, but it just doesn't look like it, kind of went together. The lines are way off and stuff like that. But my question to everybody out there while we're talking is, if you had your choice, okay, ammo was not a concern. Say you had tons of ammo for the AR-15 and the AR-10. Would you rather have an AR-15 or an AR-10? And people are going to say AR-10's too big. You can't carry it. I've got a 12.5 AR-10. So yes, you can get small ones, but would you rather have an AR-15 or an AR-10? That's my question to everybody in the chat. And go ahead. What were you going to say?
I don't recall, to be honest.
Okay.
You mean in terms of the AR-15, AR-10 question?
Well, yeah, you can answer that one.
I mean, like every well-formed opinion, my answer is, of course, it depends. Or every cop-out answer, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
For me, it would be AR-15 because I live in a largely urban environment. I don't have, and in Florida, like Florida's pretty flat, but there's a lot of trees. It's not like Texas, Oklahoma, that area where like I can see 400 yards routinely, unless I climb up to the 4th floor of my apartment building. But even then, I can't see very far. I do the AR-15 because if you have the right barrel in it, you can do 77 grain, like match grade rounds. You can push those out to 400 or 500 yards pretty routinely. but even then with the AR-15, it gets down into what kind of barrel, what kind of upper are you going to be running. But like, say you had to pick an AR-10 lower or an AR-15 lower, and like that's the one firearm you can have, it would be an AR-15, because there's just so many more caliber options in terms of like you go from 223 5.56 up to 6.5 6.5 Grendel 6.8 Grendel. What am I thinking of? 6.5?
Yeah.
Anything like that. Some of those intermediate ones where you get a little bit more long range capability. And again, if ammo is no option or no issue in this hypothetical, then you get a lot more versatility out of the AR-15 lower than you do out of an AR-10 lower, in my mind.
Okay. Now that's and here's my reasoning. Okay, here's what I'll say. And I've seen people, the majority of people are saying AR-15. Okay, but on my take, I would take the AR-10.
Okay.
And the reason being, everybody knows I'm a 308 fan, but
Naturally.
with an AR-10, you can actually put a 6.5 barrel in it. You can put a 6.8. You can, you can change some stuff around if you had to. So, but whether it be a compact AR-10 or a full size AR-10, that's what I prefer to carry. And I didn't bring in blackout because, we're 7.62 by 39. I wanted to keep it AR-15, AR-10. Reason being is, you said urban environment. If you've got to, say, example, shoot through truck doors, AR-10 is going to do it.
110%.
Yeah, where an AR-15, it's going to be more frangible, things like that. If you had to use it for distance, like you're on a ranch or whatever, you've got the capability to go out much farther and with more thump than an AR-15. So that would be my choice, and those are just kind of my reasoning. I've got plenty of mags for both, so that's not an issue. I've got plenty of ammo for both, but I'm just an AR-10 guy. I love the AR-15. I've got plenty of them, but it's just, I just like the big boys, and not knocking AR-15s, but I'm like, if I need to bust off and something really happens, and I can shoot them flat, you can put brakes on them. I've got suppressors for them. So
you can tune any AR, like especially a DI, you can tune anything to run flat. That's not really my question to you is, out of like what you said, like a small AR-10, like 12.5, it's a POF you have, right? The POF 12.5.
Yeah.
How much ballistically are you losing with a 12.5 versus like a 16, 18-inch barrel?
It's actually, and that is a true test. You do lose, gosh, what was the numbers? And I haven't put it on. I've only gone by other people's 12.5 because,
fair enough.
Uncle Dan's got a buddy and they did the numbers, and he's running a SCAR 12.5 that he turned into an SBR. So I was using his numbers with his data. And he is definitely losing it. But where I'm talking about, like you were bringing up urban environment, like if I'm out in the country, I'm running the 18-inch, or something. Hell, you could tripod it if you had to, and it's not fun to wag around. But that 308 12.5 is literally 5.5 pounds with no optics. It's like nothing. When it's hanging there, it almost feels like a 22. It's just freakishly weird.
5.5 pounds. That's down into like M1 carbine territory.
Yeah, it's just stupid light, and that's just that example. But and it has a proper twist for being cut to a 12.5. Some people will take a 12.5 308, such as Saint, and they'll just keep it a 1 in 10 twist, which really is for a longer barrel. So, like I said, it's whatever, people choose, but I'm not worried about recoil. I can shoot either one of them. But with this lightness of that one, it's easier to carry around. It goes in a small bag. There's a lot of benefits to have that size of one. And I've even seen them shorter, but I wouldn't go shorter on a 308. But you are definitely losing velocity. You are. Without a doubt.
And that's again, I have an 11.5-inch AR. I know for a fact I'm losing velocity. I'm not worried about that. Well, I'm not going to say I'm not worried about it. I've considered that and accepted it, I should say.
Yeah. Well, and like Will Arm, he's got a 50 Beowulf, and those are freaking awesome. So yeah,
my man needs to routinely crack engine blocks.
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty damn awesome. Those are. I've never shot one. I've seen one, but I've never shot one. I would love to shoot one though. That'd be really cool. But that was just kind of a little question. I was curious, and I figured everybody'd say AR-15 because it's so readily available, and a lot of compatibility there too, because when you get into the AR-10, it is less compatibility. Now a bolt will go into another AR-10 and the charging handles and stuff, but you can run into some differences where, maybe something's not compatible, or a mag is tighter or looser, or, things like that. So
right.
I understand that you can run into some weird stuff where it is more common for the AR-15s.
And again, I mean, your consideration about like being on a ranch versus or long range, anything like that, that's just not something that I'm expecting to run into. I mean, I run zero magnified optics on my ARs, apart from my one sort of clone meme build that has a fake ACOG on it. But,
Yeah.
Because again, my predicted engagement range is 0 to 100 yards, and I'm not really predicting shooting past that.
Right. Yeah. And Bald and Curious is talking about, and he has a valid point here too. He's saying, what about follow-up shots, 5.56 versus 308? And that is true. Now, I have only been able to do rapid fire at my indoor range, and it is a 50-yard range. So I had the target out there. It's like it's like the person silhouette. I think it's a USPSA type, target, but the paper version. And, I C-clamp that thing, and I was like, y'all can watch the video where it's just blasting, and I'm just like, pop, 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 as fast as I can pull the trigger on that 308. And I kept everything inside that USPSA, and that was at 50 yards. But you go out to 100 yards, that's going to open up more.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, hell, everybody, and I'll be the first to admit it, shooting an AR-15 is like shooting a 22. Even if you shoot 77 grain, it's not bad. Now it's loud as shit, but it's not bad to shoot. And it's definitely, I would say it's flatter, less recoil for sure. But, it's like I said, I'm not, hopefully you only have to shoot them one time with a 308 though, too. So there might not be a follow-up shot.
That's a distinct possibility. If your shot placement's okay with 5.56, the odds of a follow-up shot aren't horrible, or not needing a follow-up shot aren't horrible either.
Well, and that's where I'll differ on you. Now, headshots, yeah, you're turning them off. But, y'all have all seen the coked up people running around, and there's, the guy gets shot 19 times and he's still coming after the cops, with 5.56s. I've never seen that happen with the 308.
With 5.56 or with pistol calibers?
No, they were shooting ARs at him, and he was still coming.
I can't think of a video I've seen where somebody gets UTC effective hits with 5.56 that doesn't end a fight. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm saying I haven't seen it.
No, these were like, lung shots, stomach. They weren't in the T. They weren't shut off switch. No. Yeah, you can hit somebody with that and you'll shut them off. But
you can hit somebody at 22, in the T.
Oh, hell yeah. But
that's an off switch, like you said.
Yeah, but you get. Everybody's seen 5.56, and I've only shot pigs, but 5.56, leaves a little bitty hole and then goes out. Sometimes it goes straight through it, and it's a little bitty hole. But those AR-10s, they go in a little bigger, and then sometimes they come out real big.
It's kind of a car thing, but the old there's no replacement for displacement.
Yeah, exactly.
Works for calibers too, folks.
Yeah. Hello, Michael L. Yeah, and like I said, it's just it's just. Hang on, what is he saying?
What's that?
No, Bald has a question. Are you saying something like, your gut is way bigger than mine, that's why you can't appendix carry? That's not nice, Bald. And actually, I'm a big guy, and I appendix carry, so it can be done.
I'm not a big guy, and I don't appendix carry because I haven't figured out a comfortable way to do appendix carry tucked. That's what holds me back, because I have to wear a tucked-in polo at work all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's why I wear a hybrid holster, if I can admit that in public.
Okay.
Just because that's what I find tucks really well. I've had quote unquote tuckable all Kydex holsters that I just have not cared for, and I keep coming back to crossbreed.
Yeah, and I actually tuck. I've got when I have to have the shirt tucked in. I use tuckable clips. Harry, he's got them on his holsters too, so you can tuck them and everything. So it's Kydex, but they're definitely tuckable. So it's just having the right setup, the right belt, the right holster, and what you're comfortable with. So, but
absolutely.
Now, one more quick question, and we already know you have a YouTube channel, so I'm not going to ask you that. Were you ever in the military or law enforcement?
Not at all.
Okay. And do you carry? And I know we were just talking. Do you carry daily?
Every single day.
All right. And then I have another question I'm going to throw out to you. Okay, because I haven't seen one on your channel. Are you a Glock guy?
No, I'm not personally.
Okay.
I've mentioned this before to other people. Like Glock 19 Glock 19 is the first gun I recommend to anybody. I have people, especially last summer, I had folks where I work, customers, employees know I'm into shooting. I'm the gun guy at work, and they come up and be like, "Hey, I need to buy a gun. Like, what should I do?" I was like, "Get a Glock 19." I go, "Don't even think about it. If you want a pistol, get a Glock 19. Like, there's no reason in 2021 to consider anything else." I was like, you don't recommend a 1975 Renault to somebody as their first car. Those are the kind of guns I buy, like weird foreign European stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this before, you and I, and I mean, I think everybody should have a Glock, for SHTF, like we've talked about. They're kind of like the Lego of guns, the mag compatibility, so I think everybody should have one. But, when you get into, does a Glock have, especially if you grew up when I did, but, I like the 1911 angle, but does a Glock have the best grip angle? Does it have the most comfort? Does it have, like the best of everything out of the box? I don't think so, but that doesn't mean the next person wouldn't like it and be able to use it. So
it's one of those things where it's like great is the enemy of good. The Glock,
yeah.
like I don't think any Glock, apart maybe the 48 in terms of like concealability, but no Glock does anything perfectly, but it ticks all the boxes well enough that that's what makes it great. It's more than the sum of its parts, if you will, because like you said, the market support, aftermarket parts, magazine availability, the fact that there's 10 companies now that make Glock mags.
Yeah. There's a bunch.
Name another pistol company besides a 1911. Name another pistol that has that much market support for magazines alone.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
And sights and hell, milling it, threaded barrels. I mean, everybody makes something for a Glock. So, and with all these little carbine things you can snap your Glock into and have a little mini carbine. I mean, Glock is definitely, it's kind of like the, like I said, it's the Lego. I mean,
it's like not a Honda Civic per se, but like Corvette. You can build a Corvette from parts out of a catalog without a single Chevy part in it anywhere. You do the exact same thing with a Glock nowadays.
Yeah, it's basically a kit car.
Yeah,
that's kind of what it is. But yeah, and Pistol Pete is saying something. Where did he go? He was talking about the shadow systems, and I've actually played with the shadow systems, the MR920s, and for a Glock setup, I mean, it's actually a really good gun. It's got a nice trigger, and somebody was asking earlier, the optic, the way that they set it up on the top, yeah, you can pretty much put any optic on it. The way they've got it screwed down, it'll hold it and stuff, and it seems like a really nice setup. But especially now, they're like freaking $920. I know they were like $899 before, but
they were a little down there before.
Yeah, but if you took a Glock and you did all of that stuff to it like I did, you'd spend more with doing all that crap than you would just buying an MR920. So, I mean, I can attest to that. So if you like everything the Shadow Systems offers, with that particular they're offering, get that gun if that's what you want.
Like all of my knowledge of the Shadow Systems comes from Humble Marksman's video.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't seen it in person. That's all I know about it is from his video.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I agree with Daniel. He's saying friends don't let friends drive their own Glocks. So, but like I said, if I had guns in front of me, that probably wouldn't be the first one that I would grab. But
if you had to hand a gun to somebody else, what would be the first thing you'd hand to somebody?
For reliability and know that it would run. Now, if it wasn't my gun and I know my gun, I mean. Yeah, I would hand them a Glock.
If you're like, again, we're in SHTF scenario and you find an pistol, you're going to hope it's a Glock.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how long it's been sitting there within reason. Yeah. It's going to run when you pick it up.
Yeah, and if anything's broken in it, you can just make a paper clip out of it and the damn thing will run. So,
or the guy next to him has one and you can cannibalize. Like it's and somebody up there said refined gentlemen do not prefer Glocks. You're absolutely correct. However, uneducated gentlemen don't recognize the benefits in things they don't like.
Yeah.
It's like people who frown on skills they don't have. It's not the intelligent thing to do.
Yeah. That's what I said. In a bad situation, you're gonna. That's why and I've said this before. That's why I try to rotate through different guns. I'll shoot single action, double action, single action. Striker fire. So that way, if you ever had to grab something, you're at least familiar with all of those.
Oh, absolutely.
To some sort of degree.
To some degree, that's
absolutely. And the MP, I'd say the same thing about the MP or M&P. They're great guns. They're just, I think Glock, there's more Glocks out there, of course, but I think an M&P is a great gun too.
I think, again, I don't want to quote Caleb Giddings again like I'm some kind of fanboy, but he had a great line about if you threw every modern striker-fired pistol into a bag and pulled one out, basically it doesn't matter what you end up with. You're going to end up with a gun that's so much better than anything anyone had 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
It's where what we argue about now in terms of like grip angle and triggers and everything, that's like 0.1% in terms of what people were arguing about 40 years ago in terms of getting guns to run and accuracy and all that.
Yeah, but and if you kind of flip that whole script, 30 or 40 years ago, there weren't choices like there are now either. So
that's also correct.
It was like Glock, M&P, 1911. There was only so much stuff out there, revolvers. So,
have a lot of fun. It's out there on YouTube. Look up USPSA videos from like early 90s. I think the 1994 national championships are on YouTube. Every single person is shooting a single stack 1911.
Yep.
Like, what do you call them? Paras, like the para double stacks.
Para ordnance. Yeah.
Those weren't even a thing yet.
Yeah. No, I remember and a lot of those, had to be like, they had to have a perfect sized ammo, round nose, flat nose, and they had them all, tuned and throated and, to get them to run all their ammo. So, I think nowadays, if it's a reputable striker fired gun brand name, you're not going to go, it's whatever you choose.
You're not going to go wrong. I am still going to make fun of you if you shoot a Springfield XD though.
Yeah. Why? You don't need 4 safeties on a gun?
My boss owns a Springfield XD compact in 45, and I mock every Springfield XD meme I see. I text to him and it drives him insane.
Yeah, I mean, hell, they got the drop safety, they got the grip safety. I mean, some have flip safety. They got freaking safeties out the wazoo. Right. But some people, they like all those safeties. So I mean, if that's what you feel comfortable carrying, as long as you're carrying something.
And I mean, who doesn't like when you think of like quality manufacturing? If Croatia isn't the first thing that pops into your head, I don't know where you're coming from.
Yeah, exactly. And Pistol Pete has a valid point. If they did not put grip zone on there, I would not know where to put my hand.
What I can't believe is that a company the size of Springfield, they had to do like focus group testing and market research, and somebody gave that the go ahead. I cannot believe to this day that ever was a real thing.
Yeah, and I was joking around about it. A buddy of mine had a Springfield, and I put one of those little Post-it notes on it, and it says grip zone, and I put end, END, so it said end zone, and I was like, oh, now every time you shoot it, you can go touchdown. And he was like, hello, Steve L. How are you, buddy? Steve L's been on before. But yeah, and then let's see if there was another one. All right, now we are getting close here. I just want to make sure we get this out there. Now, as far as the next chat winner, there was some people that entered. Now, Bald has 3 channels, so he tried to enter 3 times, but I'm not going to let him do that. He was Bald the Builder, Bald and Furious, and freaking Bald and Curious. So
you got to keep those backups in case you get zucked.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's a good thing. And I was going to say, and a lot of people don't know this, but I'm on Odyssey too. Just in case, YouTube says have a nice day. I'm over on Odyssey. If anybody wants to check it out over there too. All my stuff just backs up over there. But all right, we only had 2 people sign up. And that's the thing about this. I haven't really advertised that I'm doing this or even done a video on it saying that I'm doing it. So we've kept it nice and quaint, but I might throw it out there and see if we get, a bunch of wild Indians coming over here. But, because I would like to have some people also that are kind of anti-gunners and, or maybe live in non-friendly states to get some of their opinions and things like that. So, just so we can have kind of a plethora of different opinions. But all right, we've got 2 people that signed up. Have I told you who they are?
Nope.
Okay, so you have a choice between number 1 and number 2. So out of those, what number would you pick?
I'm going to make this as fair as possible. I have a quarter here. So I'm going to say heads is number 1.
Okay.
And tails is number 2.
Okay.
It's heads. Number 1.
Oh, well, there we go. All right. Here's the 2 names. We had Bald and Curious, and we had Michael L. And Bald and Curious was number
sorry,
1.
Bald. You told me not to pick you.
So Bald wins. So Bald will be on the next chat. And Bald, I'm pretty sure I already have your email. So Bald will be on the next chat. So Bald and Curious is our winner. And also, everyone, remember, for Red Menace, go over and check him out. I think he's got, well, I guess when I posted this, he had 102 subscribers, but he's got some funny videos. The angry ones are hilarious. So at the top of the chat, I pinned his channel. And then in the description of this video, I have his channel in there. So if y'all want to go over and subscribe to him, please do. Like I said, he's a shooter. He's got some USPSA stuff. He's got some angry gun reviews, and they're funny, especially the Shadow 2 one. But now, if you could make the perfect, okay, we're talking carry optics, whatever, like an optic gun, no optic gun. If you could make the perfect, or if you could pick, maybe if it's made now, if you could pick the perfect competition gun, what would you pick? What would your opinion be?
Ooh. You mean to fit into a division that exists currently?
I'm saying, okay, like if they were going to come out with something, like if you could pick the perfect gun for you, and because you could always shoot anything in open if that's what you wanted to do. But
true, but yeah, I
know you get smoked, but I'm just saying,
I really, what I would really love to have, my absolute dream competition gun would be some kind of custom built 2011. And I don't mean not like what is it? Atlas, even like an Atlas is a little too factory for me. I mean like an Akai custom, drive out to the gunsmith shop and say, this is what I want. I want it to look like this. Show them pictures and say, I want this build in 40 caliber, as much as that pains me to say, until they get rid of until they allow 9mm major for limited. It would have to be 40 caliber to make major, but it would be in 40 caliber, probably 6-inch barrel, 6-inch slide, full dust cover, all that sort of stuff. Basically an Atlas ethos that I've sat down and designed myself and talked with a gunsmith about.
Cool. Yeah, I've actually shot X-Rings Kai custom, and it was the tungsten wrapped barrel, and I mean that gun was freaking awesome. And I've shot balls and Infinity and stuff, but I've got those weird gorilla hands. So the Akai, out of all of those, even hell, my Staccato, it still rubs. The safety just rubs the crap out of my knuckle. But flipping it on and off. But the Akai that's the only one that didn't mess with my hand for some reason. But it was a freaking awesome gun to shoot.
I've had the chance, and actually I have videos on my channel, just another little self plug there,
cool.
where I've actually had the chance, I've had people loan me their 2011s for matches, and one of them was an STI DVC limited in 9mm. Really, really enjoyed shooting that. It was just, in 9mm, so I was having to shoot minor, which I didn't enjoy. Not that I didn't enjoy it, it's just, the way points work in USPSA, major is better for hosing. So I really, really loved the 2011. We talked about the 1911 grip angle. That's fantastic. And then just the way that those guns recoil, especially with a full length dust cover, is phenomenal. And somebody, Bold and Curious, just mentioned that 2011s are overrated. Anyone who shoots 40,000 rounds a year can win nationals. I don't care what gun they're using. It's their training regimen that matters, not what gun. Just to get that out of the way. Like people winning limited nationals last year with almost factory Glocks, it comes down to training regimen, not the gun they're using. I'm a gun nerd on top of a shooting nerd, so I want a nerdy gun, not just a SIG X5.
Well, and also, I mean, if you just, that's the thing. I could go shoot a polymer gun. I mean, I shoot them okay and all that stuff. Now I'm not in the nationals and all that, as far as competition. So that's not me. But I mean, I could shoot any gun fine, but
Right.
part of it for me, and it might be for other people too, is when I shoot a gun, I like the way the trigger feels. I like the way the grip feels. I mean, I just like the way the recoil. I like to enjoy the shooting of a gun, not just to go shoot a gun because I could do that anytime I wanted. But
Exactly.
I like to kind of, it's kind of like, okay, if you had your choice and you're going to the grocery store, would you rather take, and I'm being sarcastic, but would you rather take your Ferrari or would you rather drive your Pinto? I mean, you could probably fit more shit in your Pinto, but, just driving that Ferrari, it's fun.
It's not going to be as cool. And for me, like I mentioned with my Gucci Commando AR and my high powered everything, for me, it's the process and like the intellectual exercise of getting a gun to be what I want it to be.
Yeah.
That's the part that I really enjoy. That's why, like, if you go back, I have like my Beretta 85 videos. I took a 1980s Beretta 85 and made it like an acceptable 2020 carry gun. That's an entertaining intellectual exercise. Not necessarily. It's not to this day, it's not a good gun. Like, I admit that. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but it was fun getting it to a point where it's acceptable to carry in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, like I said, I just like, and we've talked about this, we were talking about before the chat. I like weird shit. I like stuff people don't have or don't think about. And real quick before I forget, Michael L., it looks like Bald has given up his spot. So, and Bald has been on before. So he did win it. But if you would like to be on and Bald's cool with it, you can send me your email and we'll get you set up. So if that's cool with you, Bald, doesn't matter to me. And Michael, you can be on. So whatever, if that's cool, that works for me.
I think we're going to have to make them fight for it.
Yeah, arm wrestle. You'll have to Indian leg wrestle.
Oh, I was going to say like Bill Drills or El Prez or something.
Yeah, there you go. But and that's the thing. Do you like, and this is, I've always wanted to ask people this, but I kind of haven't, I guess, or I've never really just came right out and asked. Do you worry about scratching up your guns or holster wear, or do you worry about any of that stuff with any of your guns?
A couple of them. My Commando, I'm a little bit nice with, only because I haven't shot it in a match yet. Usually after I get a gun to a match and it gets beat up anyways, just from like wear, I'm fine with it. Like my Shadow 2, I have a $250 Cerakote job on that, and it looks like it got like tumbled in a rock, like a gem tumbler or something. It's so beat up at this point. But honestly, I kind of wear that with pride. It's one of those things where like you see somebody with like a Wilson Combat 1911 that has no brassware on the ejection port, where it's like, okay, you dropped all that money, but you can't afford ammo for it.
Yeah.
So short answer, no. The holster wear and the wear from use is great. Let me backtrack even further. If you get like, what do I call it, battle worn finish, and you don't earn it with shooting it, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I've got some battle worn guns, but I don't baby them. And this is another thing that I always used to joke around about. I would look at other people's guns, I'd open them up, and I'm like, if you don't have a smile on that barrel, if you don't have a smile, you're not fucking shooting that gun.
Right.
So, because I've seen some that look like they're fresh off the showroom floor, and I'm just like, really, man? I mean, go shoot that damn thing.
That's fine if you owned it for less than a month, but
yeah.
Sunshine Shooter there just said, "Show us the safety made from a penny." He's doing spoiler alerts for my next video.
Oh, okay.
I made an extended safety for my PO7 out of a penny and JB Weld.
Oh, hey, cool, man. What's funny is I was like, man, somebody needs to print one or do something, because you're right, it doesn't have one, and I like to ride the safety like a 1911. And
I looked up, and there were some guys that were doing it with like washers and Legos and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I could do something like that. It took an hour of a little bit of. I have a Dremel JB Weld. Like, I'm a gunsmith, baby. That's all there is to it.
If you've got a Dremel, you're a gunsmith.
Yeah.
Real quick, Bald, you are on next week because I guess Michael L. has he coaches high school softball, so he's got a game next Wednesday. So. Bald, you are on, and then Michael's going to re-enter, so that's cool too. All right, so we got that squared away. But yeah, and let me get back to it. Keenan had a great point here, and I've said this before too. saying Big Johnson Guns and Gear, I'm tired of striker fire firearms, so cookie cutter, going back to hammers for a while. And that's kind of where I was too. It's like you carry strikers all the time, and if you've got the other guns in your collection, why not shoot them? But I just get that's kind of, and I'm not being negative, but that's why I kind of, I've carried Glocks before. I mean, I still have Glocks, but it's like I just get tired of like the same old stuff. I just want something different.
And I would say that's fine if you can perform with it on command.
Yeah.
If you say, hey, I'm going to carry hammer guns, I'm only going to practice with hammer guns, but I say, all right, cool, show me a 1.5 second draw right now.
Yeah.
And you forget to turn the safety off, maybe you need to stick with strikers. It's one of those things where I think people get a little too hung up on striker versus hammer, anything like that, because I felt really great striker fire triggers. And I don't think of myself as a trigger snob. There's only two kinds of triggers. There's good ones and there's bad ones. And I can't necessarily tell you the difference. I just know it when I feel it.
Yeah.
So like
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was going to agree with you, but go ahead.
So like the P10C, I've dry fired a couple. Fantastic striker fire trigger. My high power, when I first got it, a trash single action trigger. I mentioned that in my angry review. It was seriously like double digit single action, which defeats the purpose. Mm-hmm. So people get a little too hung up in terms of, oh, hammer fire is better than striker fire trigger. But in terms, like you said, if you get bored with a striker fire, that's fine, but don't switch systems for the sake of it and then have performance suffer because of it. Yeah. If you're going to, don't switch back and forth because you feel like it unless you train with both a lot. If you say, hey, I'm carrying hammered fired guns and I'm going to only dry fire and live fire practice with hammer fired guns, fantastic, more power to you. Buy something weird and modernize it and we'll be bros. Yeah. But don't go back and forth and then, not be able to hit a dinner plate at 15 yards on command.
Yeah. And that's why I do, and of course I'm not like Mr. Pro Shooter or anything, but I've always practiced, especially with 1911s, like even I'll catch myself with striker fires. I'll draw and I'll go to shoot, but when I do, I'm sweeping the side in case it has a safety, you know what I mean? Because I'm going to sweep it off and I'm going to ride it. Well, in the P10C, it doesn't have a safety. Other Glocks don't have safeties, but that's just kind of my, like when you see me shoot, you'll see my thumb up there, and if it doesn't have something I can ride, I'm kind of just bending the thumb down, kind of like that, to pretend like something's there. And that's just kind of built into my draw. It's sweeping. If it's not there, fine. If it is there, I'm going to hit it. So,
and that tells me you don't shoot double single guns at all, because if you did that with my PO7, you'd be hitting the decocker and then just like trigger freezing. And
no. That's okay. I was rephrasing that. With my Shadow 2, I don't run it with a safety on because we have to drop the hammer. Have to, how it is.
But you run the delete safety
on my Shadow 2.
Yeah, like the real thin ones?
No. Oh. I have the thick one because I ride my hand. Even, like we're dropping the hammer on the line. So we have to drop the hammer. So we're not using the safety.
Right.
We're putting it in there. But when I skin it, my hand's still going up there and it's riding that safety.
So for me, because I'm left-handed, so it ships with the right-handed or the left-hand side extended safety. Yep. I've just gotten in that's why I own that Beretta, is I needed a double single stack carry gun, and I'm used to decocking. I do the same thing with the Beretta where I decock it and then drop the hammer a little bit further, and the safety never comes into play. That's something I had to really train myself to do when I started carrying the high power, is just reps and reps and reps of draw, safety on the present, that sort of thing.
And I guess I should have rephrased that, because Dexter was asking that also. On my decocker guns, the way I come with that thumb is I don't hit the decocker. I would only hit it if it was an extended safety, like a 1911 or the Shadow 2 with the extended. So other than that, it's just going right by the decocker, and because my inside of my thumb, it's kind of hard to show, but the inside of the thumb is kind of cradling the back. And the thumb is kind of sweeping at an angle where I could hit an extended, but I don't hit the decocker.
That is a man who does a lot of draw reps, folks.
Yeah,
to have that nailed down.
Because this inside right here, that's where it'll get just chewed up from just riding that slide on the inside. I mean, it's been a habit, and I do actually do a lot of dry fire even when I travel. I'll unload the gun. I'm in the hotel, and I've even had from with a striker fire where you're racking it and then clicking it, racking it, clicking it. I have the TV turned off in my room. I've had people knock on the wall like to, hey, quit dry firing, because they can hear me obviously through those paper thin walls. Ooh. But yeah, Richard Jenkins is asking recommendations for a 22 suppressor. And I know we were kind of talking about suppressors earlier. Have you gotten any yet, or no?
I have no cans at the moment. During my time when I was working at a shooting range, I had a chance to do a Silencer Co. demo day. And I can't remember the name of the 22 Silencer Co. suppressor, but that's the only 22 can I've ever shot. And it was acceptable. Like it was cool because there were like 15 of us. We were all in the range and nobody put ear pro on, which felt cool. And we shot everything from 22 up to 5.56. But so in answer to your question, Richard, I'm not the person to talk to. I'm sure Big J has a better answer than I do.
Richard, this is what I would say. I would say only get a 22 can that you can shoot 22, 5.7. You can shoot other calibers. I think a 22 Magnum. Because if you get a 22 dedicated only for 22 LR, then you can't shoot it on a 5.7 and some other stuff. So put it this way. The one that I wanted was the Q El Camino. But they didn't have it in stock. They didn't know when they were going to get it. So I went ahead and got a dead air mask. It's quiet. I like it. But the thing I hate about it, and I do pros and cons, try to, I'm honest. When I put it on the gun, screw it on there and I'll shoot it, or screw it on there and don't even shoot it. And I'll say, oh, I need to take this back off real quick to do something. To unscrew it, every time I unscrew it, I take the son of a bitch apart.
Ooh.
It's just, I won't even crank it on there. I'll just put it on hand tight. And then when I go to take it off, they didn't do reverse threads. Like to screw it on, it should go, on there right. And then they should have done an opposite thread to take it apart, but they didn't. So when you put it on and you're taking it off, I actually take the whole thing apart. So I've taken the whole damn thing apart to take it off the gun, and then I got to take the fucking end cap off.
I was going to say, then you need like channel locks to actually get it off the gun.
It's a pain in the balls. And I'm just like, why would you do this? So
that's wild. Like so it like carbon locks without even shooting, like not carbon locked, but it binds to the muzzle.
Yeah, it just grabs. And and everybody's going to say, why don't you use anti-seize? I put anti-seize on it. I've done everything to this, and it still does it no matter what. So, I'm not doing anything wrong. That's just what it happens. But it's just a pain in the ass.
Don't buy that one, folks.
Yeah, but like I said, it still works, and you can take it off, and you can do what you want to do. Sunshine Shooter, yes, this will replay. So if you need to come back to it, once it goes replay, you can watch it again. So not a big deal there.
Yeah,
but and really, when it comes down to suppressors for me, and I've said this many, many times, I will only have a 22 pistol suppressor. Mm-hmm. I personally will not have a 9mm or a 45, 46 can to put on a 9 and a 45. I've shot them, but I don't get anything out of a 9mm can or a 45 can, putting it on a 9mm. They're just, I don't know. I think they're more of a novelty / whatever.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, because most of your guns, even with suppressor sights, if you get a big old 45 wide ass can, you still can't see over some of these suppressor sights. Mm-hmm. And it's heavy, it's cool, but it's like, okay. So I think a 22 can that you can put on pistols and 22 rifles, and then a 30 cal can is your best bet. Yeah. That's the main thing I would stick with.
And I've heard all kinds of arguments in favor of like, suppressor for home defense because it saves your hearing and that sort of thing. Yeah. I read On Combat by Dave Grossman, and there's so much. It is anecdotal, to be fair, but anecdotal evidence of people who are in gunfights and suffering no hearing damage. I don't really lend a lot of credence to the suppressor thing, just in terms of being involved in a defensive situation with an NFA item. I feel like that's unnecessary legal trouble.
Yeah.
But and then also, if I'm shooting at someone in my house, I want them to immediately know that things have gone wrong for them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want it to be obvious from the get-go that I'm aware they're there, they're receiving return fire, and they need to leave. So that even if my first round isn't like 100% combat effective, it's detrimental like morale-wise. And that's kind of my thought process. It's not the old like, oh, I'll rack the shotgun and scare them off. It's if the first round doesn't, like we said, off switch them, then at least they know things are going poorly.
Yeah. Well, I might want to be the guy that's sitting over in the corner going peekaboo, but that's that's another thing I was kind of joking around about, but I kind of did the test on it, and I was actually pretty damn impressed. The little 22, I've got that tricked out 22 Ruger with the trigger. I mean, that thing is, God, it's fun. And I'll put the can on it, and I will put suppressed rounds or CCI, and it doesn't matter. It shoots sub and super, but I've got the dot dialed in. But I did a video where say you had that 22, and I've made sure that they actually send every one of them off. If you get a good quality 22 ammo, you got a better shot at it, but you can have bad rounds. But anyway, I've set it on had it sitting on the little bench at the shooting range, and I was like, okay, this is setting on a nightstand, just pretending. So I had it setting there, and the target was, I think it was 10 yards away. I picked it up and I was like, and I mean, it was like, and these have +1 followers, so I could put 11 rounds in them.
Right.
And I mean, it was just, I'm like, good Lord, can you imagine freaking 11 rounds, like making a third eye? And
that's why, like, if you can get a 22 that runs, I'm not the first person to say like, oh, don't ever have a 22 for self-defense, because there's something to be said for group size. It's like, it was Masad Ayub who said nothing is everything, but everything is something, and shot placement is the biggest something.
Oh yeah.
Where like the whole thing about like having a big enough round in the right place is the biggest part, but having a round in the right place is the most important part of that. So 22 for self-defense, I don't recommend it, but if it's like anything else, if you're willing to accept the drawbacks, there's something to be said for being able, like you said, to put 11 rounds into a $50 silver dollar sized hole in 2-3 seconds.
Yeah. And if I really again, if you really want to take care of business, and say they came through your front door, I've got a long hallway, and they would have to come down the hallway if they came through my front door. But if you really want to get just totally medieval, you can send, a couple of rounds of buckshot straight down there, and you're literally going to cut them in half. I mean, if you just want to get crazy.
Home defense shotgun is like the fudsiest position that I have. That's what I keep loaded for home defense. I have a Remington 870. I keep it cruiser ready. Yeah. So like it needs the rack, like I said, not to scare them off, but just because a lot of shotguns aren't drop safe. I don't know if people know that.
Yeah.
But that's like my fudsiest position, because I like to dry fire my ARs, and it's not worth it to unload them all the time. I just keep the 870 there because it's simple. I know it works. It has a light on it. It's fine.
Oh yeah, and I've got lights, and even have a dot on this one, so it's got the the pick rail on it. It's a 590A1, so I've got the dot on it, and I mean, literally at my door. I mean, and like Clint says, I don't know if you watch Clint Smith from Thunder Ranch, but he's bullets are designed. ARs will put holes in people. Pistols will put holes in people, and he's like, shotguns will literally leave chunks on the floor. And
I think his exact quote is, shotguns will physically remove a chunk of shit from your opponent and leave it on the floor behind them.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. And I mean, I've shot, and I've said this before, we used to get frozen pig heads from our butcher back before people started doing I guess they eat the tongue and all that other stuff. So now they eat everything on them. But this was shit probably 15 years ago. Right. And the butcher would actually freeze the heads, and he would just give them to me. So we would take them out and set them on these big racks, and we'd shoot them.
Right.
And these are frozen, big old huge pig heads. And I mean, I've hit them with buckshot, with slugs, and 8-round buckshot. And I mean, they freaking explode. It's just gnarly how devastating this stuff is. So I'm like, man, I mean, you could literally just take somebody's head off.
When like speed of manipulating the firearm is not an issue, the shotgun remains an incredibly effective fight stopper.
Yeah.
Just like that amount of lead at one time is not to be sneezed at.
Yeah, especially at closer quarters. I mean, I know, like, if you're saying, oh, that guy's running 150 yards away, that's not going to be what you're going to pick.
Like if you're like like we said, if you picked a 12 gauge over like an AR-15 or an AR-10, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But for 0 to 10, 0 to 20 distances, yards I'm talking about, a shotgun remains perfectly effective if the issue isn't keeping it loaded and actually running it at high speed. If you're talking 1 or 2 round home defense situation, the shotgun remains perfectly effective in 2021.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the hallway I'm talking about, I'm not going to take an AR-10 because it's going to go straight through him at that distance. It's going to go through the door. It's going to go through my neighbor's house. So, across the street. So those are the things that you got to be concerned about too. But yeah, no, this has been a great time, man. I've really enjoyed you being on, and heck, we've gone a little bit over, but that's cool. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, and also go over and check out Red Menace. His pinned in the description is his channel. In the description of the video is his channel. So go over and check him out. He's got some funny videos. Good guy. Really enjoyed him being on, and stay in touch. And do you have any ending thoughts?
Go shoot competition if you haven't already. IDPA, USPSA, Steel Challenge, it doesn't matter. Get out and shoot competition. Run your guns under a timer. It will make you a better shooter. 110%. I stand by that. Also, Big J's mentioned my YouTube channel. That's fantastic. Also, check out Pro Gun Millennial, the blog I write for. Sunshine Shooter popped up here earlier. He's the guy who runs it. We do a lot of cool content over there. Just in terms of firearm reviews, liquor reviews, lifestyle stuff. Heck, I've done book reviews over there too. It's kind of a eclectic sort of collection of stuff.
So you're saying basically it's kind of a hipster hangout.
It is. Well, no, Sunshine won't like being thrown in the same category of hipster as me. I'm the first to admit that it's the most hipster place on the internet, especially for gun stuff. But it's a lot of fun. We do some cool stuff over there. Check out the archetype, the firearm owner archetype series. That was a lot of fun to write. Other stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah. Like I said, go over and check him out, everyone. I appreciate y'all being on. Hope we got all your questions answered. And we'll do this again. Michael or Bald and Curious will be on next week. And then Michael will re-enter. But I appreciate everyone checking us out. And Red Menace, you can stay on. But if y'all have any questions or comments, the replay will play over. If you want to enter to be on the next chat after Bald and Curious, leave a comment when this goes as a replay, and you will be entered. So hopefully this takes off and we can keep bringing people into our community. That's what it's all about. But hit that thumbs up and let us know what you think. Appreciate it, everyone. Y'all have a great night. Stay safe and always carry on.
Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.
All right.